Truth Talk Live podcast. Learn more at truthnetwork.com.
Welcome to Truth Talk Live.
All right, let's talk.
The truth is, I can't hide it, I can't hold it no more.
A daily program powered by the Truth Network,
This is kind of a great thing, and I'll tell you why.
where pop culture, current events, and theology all come together.
Speak
Your mind.
And now, here's today's Truth Talk Live host.
Well, it is beginning to look a lot like Christmas out there. And as we think about Christmas, we automatically think about children. And I know, and it's always been a huge fascination of mine. The Great Commission says, "Go ye therefore and make disciples." And some people call that the Great Commission. And so that was always been of great interest to me. What does that look like when it comes to discipling children, especially globally? How do you see that? How do you interact with that? What does that bring to your mind as far as how you would actually take that commission that God's given you in that particular area, especially with children, especially this time of year? We would love to hear from you. 866-348-7884, especially since we have Jonathan Brown. He is the Chief Global Officer for Cook Media Global. And one of the things that's near and dear to his heart is this very idea of child discipleship. And so what an opportunity we have today to glean from somebody who is going around the world with this very heart that God gave him to reach the children. So welcome, Jonathan.
Oh, wonderful to be with you. Thanks for inviting me.
We are so excited. I got to tell you, when it comes to reaching children, I mean, that's the next generation. That's what's happening. And so can you kind of share the vision of Cook Media when it comes to that?
Yes, of course. David C. Kirk, the company, one of our companies, has been around 150 years. It's a 150-year-old ministry, and it was formed through child discipleship 150 years ago. And so still at the heart of our ministry is child discipleship. And as a company, we do Sunday school curriculum. We have a book called The Action Bible, which is loved by many. And so for us, creating tools and training that can form a child is at the very heartbeat of who we are as a ministry. And we don't just want to do that in North America or what we would call English-speaking parts of the world. We want to do that around the world, particularly in areas where there's the most need and the least availability of these type of tools and training.
And so, Jonathan, I mean, actually, from what I understand, you've stood in stadiums with hundreds of thousands worshiping in Africa, and you've also been in small churches across Europe, which clearly we can hear from the UK and in the U.S. And so what is God doing in worship right now that might surprise us or even encourage American believers?
Yeah, so my role allows me to travel the world extensively and get to hear the first-hand stories of what God is doing. And so like 2 weeks ago on the 6th of December, a week ago, and there was an event in Lagos, Nigeria, and it happens every year, and there were 700,000 people gathered for prayer and worship through the night. It's an event that starts at 7 in the evening, and it finishes at 7 in the morning, and they will just worship in this huge stadium, and it has an overflow stadium, and I've had the opportunity to go to that event twice and just experience hundreds of thousands of people just lost in worship in that part of the world, in Africa and Nigeria. And at the same time, I get to travel to Europe a lot, and your view, I don't know if your viewers are interested, your listeners are interested, but in the UK right now, which is I would consider a post-Christian society, there's something happening there right now that is of God. And so there was a report that came out at the beginning of this year. You can Google it. It's called The Quiet Revival. And it's talking again about this Generation Z and how there's a huge surge in the UK. So in the last 6 years, there's about 2.5 million to 3 million Gen Zs who have come to Christ in the last 6 years in the UK.
Really?
A lot of them are coming from unchurched backgrounds, and they're just moving into the church. And that's just Europe, and we're seeing that in Europe, across the UK, God's moving in Africa, and then when we come to Asia and areas like, well, we call it the 1040 window, places like the Middle East, there's just extraordinary move of God, and many are coming to Christ right now.
So if there's something from that you understand that we maybe have forgotten here, that you can see, I mean, like, my immediate question is, why do you think that's happening?
I think that there is a place in our lives when we're desperate that God meets us. And I think hunger, when there's a hunger to pursue him, and I'm not saying that doesn't happen here in the US, but there is a deep hunger. When there's need, there's a hunger, and we're seeing that in these parts of the world. Almost an abandonment and a relentlessness for God to move. And I think we're particularly seeing it amongst Generation Z, particularly. We're actually seeing this in the US in the universities right now as well. And so that's always a key, I think, when people are deeply hungry for God to move. He moves.
And then once they begin to move like that, you need resources, right? And I guess that's where
we come in.
Right.
Yeah.
And so how do you come in?
So we work in areas of the world where there's most need and least availability, and we create tools. So one of our tools is called the Action Bible. It's a graphic novel for children. Covers the entire all scripture as a graphic novel, but we have it in 133 languages. And so we've distributed hundreds of thousands of these into Ukraine. We've distributed, I think we're working on 1 million copies right now going into different parts of Arabic. And so we utilize these tools, and we find ways to actually get them into different parts of the church around the world. Yeah, so that's one of our tools. It's called the Action Bible. And then the other tool we have is a children's curriculum. We call it Life on Life. And it's a unique curriculum because it's spiritual formation, character development, and practical skills for a child to learn about God. So it will teach them not just the gifts of the Spirit and like I said, in spiritual formation, the gifts of the Spirit. It'll also teach them about emotion, and that will help them to make healthy choices with that emotion. So we call that practical skills. So it holistically helps to transform a child. And so we utilize those tools, and we get them into different parts of the world. Yeah.
Like, wow. Yeah, I can imagine Ukraine right now, the hunger's got to be incredible. And you have people on the ground there that can actually access these folks?
We do. We have partnerships where we create, we're able to provide the Bible, the Action Bible, into those partnerships, and they distribute it on the ground. Yeah. Yeah,
because that's kind of dangerous duty right now in a lot of places of the world, as I would imagine, especially in certain areas where that kind of information is even just dangerous to have on your person. So that's pretty outstanding that you guys are. Yeah. And again, for those who hadn't familiar with Cook Media Global, it's cookmediaglobal.org, am I right? And there your website kind of explains some of the things they can do, and people could even partner with you, right?
All right. The easiest place to go to is called davidccook.org /radio. That's where most of the information is for people that want to partner with us. So davidccook.org is the original company that started we're part of a bigger company now called Cook Media Global, but the original company is called David C. Cook. davidccook.org is the easiest place to go.
There you go. davidccook.org, right?
Yep.
All right,
yep.
There you go. When we come back, we would love to hear from you. Questions you might have for Jonathan and what's going on around the world. Pretty exciting stuff. What a Christmas present, right? To see how God is at work. We'll be right back hopefully with your calls, 866.
You're listening to the Truth Network and truthnetwork.com.
Globally discipling children today on Truth Talk Live. What are your thoughts as you're thinking about this, as you're listening to Jonathan with the David C. Cook organization? How awesome that they're seeing these kind of movements around the world. And what a Christmas present that is to all of us. If you got a question for Jonathan or some comment about how you see this happening, it may be in our own country that you see this awakening happening. 866-348-7884. We would love to hear from you. 866-348-7884. Jonathan, what an honor to have you with us today. And I understand that one of the words, and I'm really interested in this word, that you guys like to talk about is really when it comes to seeing these hands of God move around the world, that you're curators, not just creators. And so can you kind of unpack that for us, what that means?
Yeah, so for us, a curator is someone that helps form and develop something that brings an original idea and helps to move it from the initial idea to something bigger. And so we work with songwriters. We have a company that part of David C. Cook called Integrity Music, and we work with songwriters, and they will write a song, and then we will help the song find, we will critique the song, we'll help the song find it's the right sound, and then we'll find the right person to record the song. And so that's what a curator does. Same with books. Someone has a great idea for a book, and then we'll have an editorial team that will come alongside it as curators and help that song find, flesh it out and help it become bigger than the original idea. And that's kind of what we do in partnering with creatives. Yeah. That's
so beautiful. I don't know, maybe about 8-10 months ago, I interviewed King and Country, and they were talking about that process as well. And the way they described it is, God kind of gives you the tune in your head, but then he allows you to create within that framework, your aspect of it, and you get to play out what sort of he's given you this vision. And as you described that, I couldn't help but think of the same way they described that essentially you're seeing what God is, or he's given you the melody, so to speak, and you're filling out the places where you can even develop that, even amongst different people groups, right?
Yeah, it is. So for us, a lot of it's just encouraging. A lot of people do have the original idea and they know kind of direction where they go, but a lot of it's just building confidence through encouragement and just saying, hey, if you just make this little change, it could make a whole world of difference to the song, to the book. And so we have teams that, I call it giving them a third ear or a third set of eyes, so that we can actually help them formulate exactly what their vision is for the thing they're creating. Yeah.
Yeah, and so what an amazing thing. So it's really, if you guys got songwriters, you've got obviously got to have producers and the resources necessary to do all that. Obviously, that's why it helps to been around 150 years, right?
Yes.
And so I'm curious, how did you find your way there?
Yeah.
Into that realm.
Oh, well, by the way, to confuse you, I live in Nashville, but my voice is British.
Okay.
So just for those people that are trying to figure me out. And so I was brought up as a Christian and loved the Word of God and loved worship music, and ended up working for a number of companies in the UK. And a decade ago was asked if I'd move to America to continue encouraging creatives in this part of the world. And so that's how it worked. I was brought up in a Christian family, and in some ways I feel like I stumbled into this world. But I can see now as I look back on my life that God had orchestrated it so beautifully. And so, yeah. And now I get to work with creatives all over the world. So one of my favorite stories is in the middle of COVID, the song that really was helpful to the church worldwide was a song called Waymaker, Miracle Worker.
Oh, I love
Promise
that song.
Keeper. But that song was originally written by a Nigerian lady called Sinach.
Really?
And so we as a company were able to find that song and then find people to carry that song into other parts of the world. And so we were part of that story of finding that song and bringing it to the wider world. Yeah.
I had no idea. Really?
Yeah.
So that
so Waymaker, it's an African song. Yeah.
And so were the words originally in a different language then?
No, she actually wrote that song in English. And one of the things that we've done is translate it into many languages so other people can embrace the song in their language.
Wow. And so then once you had that, you had other resources in order to begin to spread it like it was spread?
Yeah. So we have different artists that recorded it. So we encouraged other people to record it. And then we also have teams that help to translate it into other languages and then partner with other musicians to record it in their language. So that's what we do. And it helps the song travel the world. But also, what's the beauty about these type of songs is that it unifies the global body of Christ. Because when we sing it together in gatherings around the world, we all sing the same song because we're all familiar with it.
Wow. So that's mind-blowing. And so as I recall, and again, I'm not that up on music as I should be, but wasn't it Leland that made it such a hit in the United States?
Yeah, so Leland's one of the artists that was working with us at the time, and he loved the song and decided he wanted to record it on one of his projects, and then Michael W. Smith did a version, and lots of other artists then. Once it starts to find its own momentum, it then moves quickly. But the initiation of partnering with other people to carry the song is part of the work that we do in curating, in curation, yeah.
Yeah, that and so it's God just takes it and like you said, I don't know how many different versions I've heard of that particular song, but it like you said, it grew legs. But I had no idea that underneath that was this, obviously David C. Cook Company that I'm learning more and more about. But the neat thing is, you guys are working on stuff like that right this minute.
Yes, yeah, we are, and we're working with artists and songwriters all over the world in doing this. Yeah.
And so really you get this idea when worship really becomes, because I know in places like the Ukraine, worship becomes a lifeline, right? Not just a playlist. And and they're living on that. As they're going through these kind of especially the children. And so you've obviously found a niche there, and then be able to reach them through music and through these action Bibles that you're talking about. And so do you actually have a chance sometime to interact with the children yourself? Do you have stories along that way?
Yeah, so we were in, so I travel extensively. I actually spent most of October I was in Asia, spent 3 weeks in India in 8 cities, and so got to interact with the teams there, if not the children directly. We do a lot of, we train tens of thousands of Sunday school teachers each year as a company, who then can use this curriculum and build trust and into the child's life. And so one of my favorite stories, we were in Hyderabad, which is in the middle of India, and one of the stories that we heard that week was a young boy who's 12 years old called Anju. He'd been going to with his friends to this Sunday school and was really enjoying it. But what they didn't know is that their parents had not known that he was attending Sunday school. And when his father found out, he was disappointed and forbid him to go.
Well, I hate to jump in on you, Jonathan, but those who want to hear the rest of this story, you're going to have to come back after the break, because I know I do. And so stay tuned. We got a whole lot more with, again, Cook Media Global and Again, davidccook.org to find out how you can partner with him. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Truth Network and truthnetwork.com.
Welcome back to Truth Talk Live today. Wow, what a joy it has been to have with us Jonathan Brown with davidcook.org, which is we're discovering is this gigantic resource for people around the world in child discipleship. And I am just kind of blown away by these stories and the information I am learning. I imagine many of you are seeing, God's been at work mightily behind the scenes with davidccook.org. And so when we went to a break, Jonathan was describing a young man in India that had become involved and his father was disappointed. And so I'll let you pick up where you left off, Jonathan.
So his friends invited him to Sunday school, and he's 12 years old, and his father was disappointed and scolded him and told him that he did not believe in that God, he believed in his own gods, and refuted him from going with his friends. But what he had learned through the curriculum was the love of God and the love of other people. A week goes past, and the boy starts to lose his eyesight, and his father scolds him again, saying that the reason why you're losing your eyesight is because you've gone to this other God instead of the gods in our family. You have to understand that in Hindu there are many gods, not just one God. And that was his religion, the family religion. But the boy kept saying this to his father: if you take me back to Sunday school, Jesus will heal me.
Wow.
And so they went to the doctor, and they did all these tests, and nothing helped. And in the end, his father said, I have no other option. We are going to have to go back to the Sunday school. And when he went back with his father, his friends prayed for him that Jesus would heal him. And over the next 2 weeks, his eyesight was fully restored. And the story is now that his entire family is being baptized.
Isn't that awesome? I mean, and then, how many other people are touched by that story and now get a chance to be touched by your describing it here on the Truth Network. And so the numbers to me of Cook Media Global are just beginning to blow my mind. And so from what I understand, in the Ukraine, 120,000 children received that Action Bible Testament that you're describing. And so, I mean, these numbers are gigantic, 120,000 children.
Yeah, well, actually, that's this year. Over the last 4 years, it's 750,000 copies we've distributed into the Ukraine.
Yeah, for such a time as this. And in Egypt, I understand 70,000 fourth graders were also gifted that, just in Egypt alone.
This year alone, yeah. But there is also, we are distributing many more of that into 4 main languages across the Arabic nation right now. In fact, we have another 7 translations in process for the Action Bible right now. Yeah.
And so again, the idea is you guys, you really are continuing to seek more global partners.
We are. The opportunity to serve and be helpful to the global church and the global body of Christ is enormous. But we also need to partner with people who have a little, so we can reach the areas that are most needed right now.
Yeah, and even here in the Americas, right, in Latin America, there's a giant need, right? You guys are involved in that as well?
We are, yeah. So we have this children's curriculum that we have thousands of churches that are actively partner with us to bring this curriculum. And again, the Action Bible is is a key tool that we're putting into the hands of children all over South America, both in Spanish and Portuguese, particularly Central and South America. Yeah.
And so, that's one of those things that obviously has been going on for 150 years. And, we kind of stand on the shoulders of giants there. Who are some of the people that you know about that worked within Cook Media, besides David, obviously, that you think are worth mentioning?
Well, there's so many individuals that I could mention that we've stood on the shoulders of. Now, I've stood on the shoulders of, and so the gentleman that was running when I joined, the gentleman was running publishing only 15 years ago. Is a guy called Dan Rich, and Dan Rich was a giant, a spiritual giant, and he was the guy that commissioned the Action Bible. But in his previous company, he was with a company called Math Press, and he commissioned the Message Bible. And so Cook is full of extraordinary people, David C. Cook, extraordinary people that just have a passion to reach people with the gospel and discipleship resources. And they all have extraordinary experiences. And that's one of the things I love about this company, is that it's filled with people that are deeply passionate about reaching people with the gospel, but they also are experienced enough to keep navigating all the changes that we face in society and in the world to make sure that we continually keep doing this the best we can. Yeah. Yeah.
And so as you see that in the world right now, what are some of the bigger challenges that you guys face?
Some of the bigger challenges is regions of the world like India, where I spent all of October, where the church is under increased persecution, and thousands of pastors are being jailed right now because they're living their faith out loud, and so the challenges all the time are in big areas where there's persecution, and where that's what I mean by areas of the world where there's most need and least availability. They're under increased persecution from other religions and outlawed through government, but they desperately need the right resources because huge volumes of people are coming to Christ. And so that's where the greatest needs are. And so for us, our area of expertise is child discipleship, and that's where we feel we can best serve the church in this moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously, one of the big tools that I can see is these Action Bibles in Latin America. And so I know if you go to davidccook.org, there's a button there to donate, and that's a part of where our listeners could be involved, right?
Yeah, yes. I mean, for $8, we can actually put an Action Bible into the hands of one of these children. And a couple of months ago, a young girl called Zida in Kenya, we heard a story where she had a traumatic background, was struggling to sleep through the night, and was given an Action Bible, and in Kenya, and it became her prized possession. In fact, when the lights went off, she would go to where there was light in the room and read it. And this Bible now, if you see a picture of it, it's falling apart because it's become the thing that she's found the most amount of solace and comfort through. And so for just $8, you can give to David C. Cook, and we will make sure a Bible gets into the hand of one of these children.
Yeah, and the Bible's, obviously this is an Action Bible, which is meant for them. And all of us, when we had children, we had special Bibles because, to make sure that could reach them. But it's also in their native heart language, right?
It is, yeah. Yeah, like I said, we have many more in the works right now, but we have 133 language translations of this Bible. So all the main languages are covered right now, all the majority of them.
Right.
So and then we'll move into dialects, yeah.
So when you think about that $8, right, that you're not only getting the Bible, you're getting it into the hands of somebody that will put it into the hands of somebody that will help disciple them with it, because those Sunday school teachers that you're teaching, thousands of them, right, on how to, because discipleship is more than just putting a Bible in somebody's hand, right?
It is. And that's the reason why our curriculum is called Life on Life. It's not just a tool in isolation. It's someone else's life who has been trained, actually imparting love, care, trust into a child's life. And the curriculum is a tool enable them to actually, when we look back on that life and see transformation. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's the partnership of both. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I love that, obviously the highlight is discipleship, and that the tools are the Word of God. And obviously, whenever you get that in somebody's hand, it's not going to return void. but it needs to come with some kind of, I was so blessed when I first became a believer to have Ted Burton, who discipled me, to say, now, Robbie, you need to set aside a time in the morning, and he just began to walk certain places, that passages. And so what are some of the things that your discipleship folks help the children with as they take them through that process?
So when we do our training, we teach some really helpful tools, like, for instance, boys and girls learn differently, okay? And one of the things we talk about is when the young boy is difficult in the room, not to get angry with him, but boys like to be encouraged. They love an arm put around them and to be encouraged. And so we teach classroom management, but we teach it from a place of love and care and drawing people into it. And so creating trust is at the forefront of what we do. We have methodology on how we make the actual classrooms about focusing on the child and focusing on key subjects so that they can grow in their spirituality. So the training is really tailor-made for the Sunday school teacher, and then the curriculum is really made so the child can bring formation. And the two together is very powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, and you can see, clearly God has blessed it to have these kind of numbers. Like, man, and I think about, I wish somebody had taught my fourth grade teacher that idea that boys learn different than girls. I struggled a lot right there, and I imagine many of our listeners were either frustrated by little boys in their class or were that little boy, however it worked. And it's a beautiful thing, that you guys have these resources, and then there's the music, right? And what child doesn't love music? And what doesn't, what is Christmas without the carols? What is worship without that lifeline of singing, right? And so that's a big, beautiful part that we hadn't talked a lot about.
Yeah, no, that's the other part of who we are, because we're part of our ministry is David C. Cook is Integrity Music. We also can provide songs into the lives of these children, which is, like you said, is so powerful. And it's so powerful for encouragement, but it's also powerful for retention. Yeah.
Yeah, retention. Like, how many people, I just say Father Abraham had many sons, and they're all out there going, yeah, many sons had Father Abraham. So we're going to come back with one more segment with Jonathan. This is your chance to call in and ask. 866-348-7884. One more time, davidccook.org. You got to check it out and partner with him. $8, man. You get one of these Bibles.
You're listening to the Truth Network and truthnetwork.com.
It's all about the children in so many different ways, as God is raising them up to be the next generation, and we were given that commission to go and make disciples. And how can we do that? How can we pray for others to do that? What an opportunity we have had today with Jonathan Brown and the David C. Cook organization, davidccook.org, to see how God has truly given them a vision, truly given them an idea as a curator to take wonderful resources and bring them into the lives of all these wonderful children. And so when you're thinking about all this right now, in this time of year, being so close to Christmas and the end of the year, for several people, they're looking at making an end-of-year gift to missions and that kind of thing. This is just really, really cool to see that you can touch a child. And so how would you speak to that, Jonathan?
I would say that I was just sitting here thinking about, the questions you were asking earlier today. And, there's 2 billion children on planet Earth today, and 435 million of them live in India alone.
Wow.
And so the need is extraordinary. But they all need to know Jesus. And so we are building tools and infrastructure so that so these children can encounter the gospel story, but also ultimately the person of Christ. And so for me, as much as it feels an enormous task, I've also seen the individual impact of one Bible, one teacher with a curriculum impacting these children, and they are becoming a witness to their own generation.
Oh yeah.
And so I believe that these tools that we're creating right now not only will impact their one child, but through the curriculums, they're going to impact their own generation and be a witness to them. So I just want to encourage people that I think this is an opportunity to give into an area where the reaping of what we'll see will be significant. Our heart as a ministry is to really see a shift within an entire generation, and particularly within Gen A right now. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. Well, we got Mike is in Dayton, Ohio. Has got a question or comment for us. Mike, you're on True Talk Live. Good evening, my friend.
Well, thank you. Thank you for taking my call. I'll be real quick. The other day, I asked my wife, I said, what'd you buy our grandkids for Christmas? She said, I bought them some clothes and I bought them a Bible. And then my grandkid is 5 and 7. And, obviously it's a children's Bible. But I'm, it's touching my heart right now. And I am definitely going to give today. I hope listeners are listening. You have grandkids and you have children around you. You reach the children, you reach the family, and then that's awesome. That's all I really want to say.
Oh, that's perfect, Mike.
Yeah,
I got to tell you, thank you, my
You're
friend.
welcome.
It does touch me.
You're welcome. Yeah. You're welcome.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
I am because I know that I get a chance to do a lot of shows with a lot of people that are giving out Bibles across the nations. But honestly, this is the first one I've known that have given out these action Bibles, I think specifically for the children. And I think it's just, I agree with Mike. What a neat opportunity is we all give these kind of kids to our Bibles to our own children. And here's something that's specifically made for these children of the nations. And Jonathan, I'm in total agreement with Mike that this is really an opportunity, especially when we think about Christmas and children, right?
Yeah, I agree. Thank you, Mike. That was very powerful to hear your heart move for these kids. And I get to see them. I get to see these kids every day of every week. I talk to my teams all over the world. And to hear someone like that call and hear the heartfelt response is so encouraging to them and the work that they're doing on the ground. So thank you.
Yeah, I'll bet. Again, they're like anybody else. They're out there working, wondering if anybody knows what's really going on out here.
Yeah.
And so your job, I'm sure, Jonathan, is to a great extent helping them feel seen. And also, obviously, you're getting precious feedback to give, the organization on how best to meet their needs and how best to pray for them. So I know, for those who may not be financially able to give right now, how could our listeners pray for davidccook.org right now?
For us, we just continually seeking wisdom and discernment. Like I said just now, the need is enormous, and just really looking, just continually, our prayer every day, my prayer every day is, God, would you bring the right person at the right time at the right place? And would you continue to give wisdom and discernment for the decisions we make so that we can make the most amount of impact as a ministry into areas of the world where there's most need and least availability for these type of tools.
Yeah, how beautiful is that? That in a way, it's Jesus's prayer that to send more workers into the harvest field, right?
Yeah.
And like you said, the right person at the right time, for the right person, because, and I love the fact that these are obviously indigenous people that you're using, that can understand the culture and understand what's going on and reach these kids with their own language.
Yeah, they are. they're an amazing team on the ground, and they're highly passionate, but they build trust very quickly because they are their own people, and they understand contextually how to communicate and to build long-lasting trust with these people. Yeah.
Right. So I did it myself during the break. I just went and typed in davidccook.org, and boom, I was right there. And there was a donate button immediately. And so easy and so quick while you're thinking about it. You know, let God lead you. Let the Spirit lead you. If you're thinking about it, just David C. Cook. You might forget later. Just go on and do it. And then, or call your wife if necessary. That's what I always do. Say, Tammy, this is what I'm feeling. Can we do this? And then she's such a wonderful bride. And she, oh yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. And then we'll pray about that someday, maybe, in heaven or sometime we'll get a chance to see the fruit of what God did with what little, when you give something to God, man, He multiplies it hugely.
Absolutely.
Like that song, I think about that girl in Nigeria. She wrote this amazing song, Waymaker, and oh my gosh, did God multiply it, right?
Unbelievable, yeah. And He's just so faithful with what we give Him. Absolutely, yeah.
I am blown away. I got to tell you, it never ceases to amaze me what I don't know. Because I'm like, wow, look at that. I mean, it's just amazing to me what I have learned through this interview, Jonathan, how precious I think the work is that you're doing, and having several grandchildren myself and worked with children as a pastor myself in my own church. It's just a joy to watch the light come on in those young eyes, right? And you get to see it every day.
Absolutely. It's I've never had a role which is more fulfilling than the role I get to do today. It's extraordinary. Yeah.
And they're in Nashville, Tennessee, although it sounds like you are in the UK, but it was really encouraging also to hear what is going on in the UK. And we know it's going on in college campuses. And God's at work, and I love this idea of being a curator. Again, it's davidccook.org. I've learned so much today. I hope you have davidccook.org. And so where to from here, Jonathan? Are you going out of the country again before the end of the year?
No, I'm not. No, I'm going to New York tomorrow to have meetings, but nothing exotic right now. So, but in the new year we'll be traveling to South America and then other parts of the world. So, I mean, I get to travel to all continents each year now, and that's one of the great joys of my life. Yeah.
And so, that has to be such a contrast to go from South America to India, to Europe, to the Ukraine, and see, oh my goodness. And everywhere there's probably something in common. What would you share about the church in common in those children?
The commonality of the church is just the love of God, the care and the kindness that He shows us all each day. One of my phrases is, I've always known the goodness of God, but it's in His kindness that I see Him every day. And wherever you go in the world, they will testify to that. Yeah.
That's a beautiful thing, right? So you walk into this church in the Ukraine, and here come these children up wanting to hug your leg. And if you're in India or you're in South America or even America, right? As you go into those schools in Nashville, you see those bright, shining, smiling faces, right? That could be so easily corrupted into hate. I was in Israel last week, and unfortunately saw some things I don't want to see again. And I know those action Bibles in the hands of the small children of those people in Israel, those people in Palestine and other places would make such an impact that the world wouldn't have to see some of the things that we've seen over the last few days, even in Australia, right? That again, what we get a chance to do is light the candles. And you can do that with just $8, right? You can get one of these action Bibles. You go to davidccook.org. That's davidccook.org. My friend Jonathan, God bless you. I'm so grateful for the time you shared with our listeners today. Keep up the great work.
Me too. Wonderful to meet you, Robbie, and your listeners. Thank you for listening.
God bless.
God bless. Bye.
Bye. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.